Schoolers, and welcome to GEG Amman's Techie Tip Tuesday. Welcome to Season 2. For those of you who were joining in last season, this show was called Tip Tuesday, and now we've twisted it up a little bit, and we have a Techie Tip Tuesday on 1 week, and then the following week we have Tip Tuesday Together, which has a little bit of a different focus, more on community and well-being, etc. So we are very excited to bring the first Techie Tip Tuesday to you this evening. Please let me know where you're joining from in the chat, and share your Twitter handle. We'd love to know where everybody's joining from today. And also, please do let me know if you can see me okay and hear me okay. We had some technical difficulties with Google Drive this evening. Seems to be all the awesome work the G Suite team are doing to upgrade all of their services. So Drive is unavailable right now for me to pull up my usual slideshow with all of my embedded links that I had prepped for today's session. So I'm going to share that out on Twitter after the fact with all of the resources. I have tried to remember all of the ones I wanted to share with you guys today, and so you'll see those are set up across the tabs along the top. But most of all, I also wanted to share with you guys some of the updates in Google Meets, because for those of us who are joining from Amman, Jordan, most of the schools here will be returning to distance learning in less than 48 hours. So today's Techie Tip Tuesday is a brilliant opportunity for us to review some of the Google Meet feature updates and how you can use those in your classroom. So I'm going to be able to show you some of those, and then any of the links I have here, I will definitely drop those in the chat. And of course, if you have any questions, guys, in the show, please let me know. You are welcome to, again, drop those in the chat, and I will definitely be able to help you answer those as we go. All right, so the first thing I want to do is walk through the Google Classroom and the Google Meet, how we can use those for distance learning, because that will be super useful for everybody returning to distance learning tomorrow. So I'm going to assume that everybody can hear me okay, but please let me know in the chat, thumbs up, or just let me know if the sound is okay. And then hopefully it is. Otherwise, it's not really going to mean much if people can't hear me, but hopefully we're good to go. All right, let's get this party started then. This Googly party, I should say. Okay, so from inside your Google Classroom, this is just a general reminder for Google Meet overview, okay? So inside the Google Classroom banner, and this was one of the updates that happened just before the summer, you can actually join your Google Meet with your students directly by clicking on this Google Meet link inside the Google banner, the Google Classroom banner. When you do that, you're going to get this screen that pops up. And so we always recommend to turn off the video as well as mute your microphone when you're joining the Google Meet. This means that your bandwidth, which is the speed of your internet, etc., the transfer, I should say, of the data, it's really less when you don't have video and sound on. So it means that you and your students can connect well to the Google Meet space before you get started with any distance learning lesson. So definitely always keep your camera and microphone off, and then you can click Join Now to join Google Meet. We also, so this screen that pops up is for the educators. So obviously you'll be the first one in the room, in which case then you will be able to take this Google Meet link in case you need to share it with anybody. So let's say, for example, you have another teacher who's going to be supporting you in the lesson who may not be a co-teacher in your Google Classroom, then you would be able to share this Google Meet with them by clicking on copy joining information and sharing that with them, for example, by email or with them in whatever other form of communication you have. Google Group, maybe you're using WhatsApp if you're in this part of the world. I know that's really popular here. You can also click on Add People just like that, and you can actually just choose email addresses to add people to the conversation. Once your teacher has welcomed you, then you're going to be able to open your camera and your microphone. And when your teacher says, welcome to the conversation, then you can unmute and you can get started. Oh, hi, Tamina. Nice of you to join. Hi, Shannon. Thanks for the feedback on the sound. It's really nice to see you here. So we're just going through some of the basic Google Meet features as a lot of the schools are returning to distance learning. I just turned the video off because it's really weird to see myself twice on the screen, as you guys may know. And so, yeah, it's really important just to keep everything turned off until your teacher has either typed in the chat or you've seen them on the screen and they've said, okay, please go ahead and join the conversation now. So once you, there we go. Hi, Tamina from GEGMN. Welcome. And Shannon is joining all the way from California. I think it's California. I think it's morning over there as well. So that's super cool. Tamina and Shannon, if you guys have not connected, definitely exchange your Twitter handles so you guys can connect. That will be a beautiful googly relationship ready to blossom. Okay, so back to Google Meet, guys. So we've entered the Google Meet and we're joining. Let's just review along the bottom some of the new features that have come out. And again, these features may be available in your school's domain. That means in your school G Suite for Education, or it may still be coming. G Suite have been super busy this past few months upgrading all of their features to make sure that educators globally have the absolute safest and best tools available and ready to go for distance learning or in-person learning or hybrid. Whatever your situation is, they have been updating everything. So for today's training, I was quite fortunate, and these feature updates that I'm going to introduce you to now actually reached me in Amman, Jordan 2 days ago. So just in time for today's Techie Tip Tuesday. And some schools, I know from like my trainer thread, some schools have not yet received these updates, but don't worry, they're on the way. So just stay tuned. You can always check with your G Suite administrator at your school, who may also be your IT team, and just check with them to make sure that your school's G Suite for Education domain is set to a rapid release schedule. If it is set to a rapid release schedule, this means that all the feature updates that are set out from G Suite will reach you quite quickly. It doesn't always reach schools at the same time. So I know, for example, some of our friends in GEGMN that are joining from North America, for example, work in districts where there's many schools joined to one school domain, and not all of those schools will actually get the update at the same time regardless. So just don't worry, it is all coming. Okay, and Tamina says she's really enjoying Google Keep updating to help with the teachers. Yes, that's awesome. Let us know in the chat what you're using your Google Keep for, Tamina. I know that's really exciting. Okay, so let's review these updates, guys, without further ado. On the left-hand side, we now see this little blue shield, and there's a little white lock inside of it. These are called the host controls. I'm just going to make my window a little bigger so you can see that easier. It should be next to me. No, that way. There we go. Okay, so this host controls button here, if I click on those, this white window pops up, and I'm just going to move myself out of the way a little bit. There we go, so that you guys can see the window clearly. Okay, so right next to me, it says here, meeting safely. You can use these host settings to keep control of your meeting. So you can choose as the educator who is hosting the meet. And remember, inside the Google Classroom, because please remember, we join this Google Meet by clicking on the Meet link inside the Google Classroom banner. So because of that, any of the teachers, like the owner, the main teacher, and any of the co-teachers that are inside this teacher section of Google Classroom, they can be the host of this Google Meet. That means that whoever enters the room first from this main Google Classroom Meet link, they become the host of the Google Meet. I wanted to just go through that slowly to make sure everybody understood, because as you may remember from previous GEGMN settings, you can actually set up Google Meet in different ways. And the different ways you set up Google Meet will change, possibly, depends on who clicks, the host controls for the settings. So if you are using Google Classroom, and you would like to join a Google Meet from the Google Classroom banner, and you are the first teacher from this teacher section here in the People tab of Google Classroom, then you will have this Meet host control settings. So when you click on host controls, you will be able to do the following. You can choose if you would like your students to share their screen or not. Personally, during distance learning in the last period of the last school year, I didn't have any difficulty with any of my students that were pushing their screen through on top of mine. I'm going to guess that's because we set up some really awesome digital citizenship routines and best practices as a class together so that students understood when would be a good time to share their screen, as in when the educator, the teacher asks them to. And also, when would be a good time to unmute their microphone and share with their class. And so, as long as you're setting up those good routines, these extra meeting safeties may not be needed. However, G Suite, as always, and Google for Education definitely listen to all of the feedback. And as we know that learners are different everywhere around the world, it's important that they provide opportunities for educators to control the meetings even better so that they can support with the learning goals throughout the lessons. As such, if you use this toggle button here next to share the screen, and you toggle it to the left, meaning that it's now white, it means that the students or any other participants in the Google Meet will not be able to share their screen. This means that includes other co-teachers. So what you need to be aware of is it, and it literally says there, guys, so check out here, it says let everyone share screen or let everyone not share screen. So if you are co-teaching the lesson with other members of your department, faculty, or team, and you will ask a teacher to share their screen, you will need to leave that turned on so that they can do so. It could be that you have collaborated on a short content presentation, maybe a Google slide deck or an Adobe Spark deck, and you have collaborated, you can run that deck while they're doing their portion. So that's another workaround you could use. You can also choose if you would like your students to send chat messages in the Google Meet now. This is really great. Some educators have shared previously that this was quite distracting for some learners who were having social conversations in the chat. So if you need to turn that off now as an educator, then all you need to do is click on this toggle button to turn it white so that they will not have the ability to chat during the Google Meet. Again, for myself, I'm happy to leave both of those on because I'm able to support my students with good digital citizenship. It could also be that you're going to build those routines over the first few weeks. So it could, for example, be that you turn it off for the first week while you're setting up your classroom routines. And then when you say that your students are ready and that you've discuss that with them, then you could turn that on. So it's all about how you set up your classroom with your students. So I'm just checking the chat again here. And Tamina is saying, I'm feeling old, guys. I put my glasses on because I'm just looking at my little laptop screen and I still feel it's a little small. But I think she says the first teacher to enter is the host. Yes, Tamina, that's correct. But only for this Google Meet link here in the Google Classroom banner. So if you do a Google Calendar invite, and it should technically be the same for the Google Calendar invite, but some schools have experienced where you send a Google Meet invite out, let's say with your team, and sometimes it has been hosted by one of the other educators from the Google Calendar invite. So technically, and again, it's because G Suite's doing such an awesome job at setting all of this up, so they're definitely going to make sure that they iron all of those controls out. But according to the G Suite support links that help us understand how these features work, this is how it's supposed to happen. So inside the Google Classroom, the first teacher in the room should have the host controls, and the first teacher in the room should also own the Google Meet recording. If you are on a G Suite for Education Enterprise account and you have access to full recordings, then that would be saved under the host, which is the first person that enters the Google Meet. Now, If you are not on G Suite Enterprise for Education, you still have the ability to use Google Meet and you still can record your session. So for example, if you go to the right side here where the three dots are, you can click here and you can go to record your meeting. Record your meeting will still be active and you can still use it, but it will not be saved to your drive if you are on a regular Google for Education account. The recording will be saved, it will save to your drive for a maximum of 30 days, and after 30 days, it will automatically be deleted. And so G Suite is saying, for those who are on the regular Google for Education service, we still want you to be able to record. We know that students may need to access that asynchronously after you've completed your lesson. But what they're saying is this record feature is technically part of the enterprise service, and so they're just giving it for 30 days. Please note that also means in those first 30 days, you will not be able to download that recording, obviously, because it's only available for those 30 days. So please make sure that you keep that in mind. And, G Suite Enterprise for Education does offer, it obviously costs schools more money, but if your school is in a position where they're able to, I definitely would recommend for your G Suite administrator or your instructional tech coach or ed tech coach or director of technology or IT department, discuss that with your school's leadership, because there are really great benefits for that service aside from being able to record and have those recordings available permanently. So you're going to have other Google Meet features, such as things like breakout rooms are coming for G Suite Enterprise for Education. I'm really excited about those. We previously checked out together in GEGMN how you can set up Google Meet breakout rooms using Google Slides and embedding those links into images on a Google slide deck, for example. There are other ways that you can set up those breakout room links as well. But now with G Suite Enterprise for Education, it's really going to be super simple just to set your users or your participants in your Google Meet to break out automatically. So that's another feature. There are others, for example, like poll questions and a few others that you're going to be able to use in the G Suite Enterprise for Education account. So make sure you check that out if your school is interested in doing so. So I'm just going to now, there we go, put myself back, and let's just review here the other features. So now with the change layout button, you all remember that we have these different feature options to set the layout of how we see participants inside our Google Meet. So with the tiled view is now going to be up to 49 users at one time. I'm really, really excited about that because sometimes most of us have more than 16 students in our classrooms, and so this really supports being able to have an inclusive classroom where all of your students can join together. So I'm really excited about that. And again, you can click on the three dots at the bottom right and you can go to change layout. And then you can choose this tiled view so that you can see everybody in the Google Meet together. And so that's really exciting. The other thing that I wanted to share with you guys about the Google Meet service is the ability for Translate. And I'm not really sure if everybody knows that's out there. And I'm actually not even sure if this is something new. However, one of my awesome global GEG leader partners, Becky from GEG. Oh, I'm not going to get this right now. This is not good. She is from GEG. I want to say South Florida, but I'm pretty sure California. She's from an awesome GEG in America. And forgive me, Becky, if you're watching this and I didn't catch which GEG you're from. However, Becky showed us that you can actually get your captions translated. And so let's take a look at that. So what you can do is you can click turn captions on just like that. And now if I remove my mouse cursor, you're going to be able to see it needs to see that I'm talking. There we go. And now it says, you can see that it's typing exactly what I'm saying. If you would like to translate those captions, you are able to right-click on this turn off captions, and another drop-down menu will appear where you can go to translate to English. When you click on translate to English, a little button will pop up inside your Omni bar inside your Google Meet window, and it will give you the option to change the settings of the language. So you can click on English, and you can click on the three dots to the right of the word English, and you can click on choose another language. Then you can drop the drop down menu and you can choose a different language. So I'm going to choose Arabic and I'm going to click translate, and now it's turning everything that I say into the Arabic language. What a beautiful way to be able to help all of our students feel inclusive and feel like they have a voice and feel like they can access all of the learning together. And so regardless of what language you're speaking in, the native language of your participants, they can choose that, and then they'll be able to read that live on screen. So I'm going to turn that back to English now, and there's many languages in there that you can choose from. So I'll click English and I will turn off my captions. So I'm just going to check the chat to see if there's any questions about that. Francis says SoCal. Yes, thanks, Francis. Becky is from SoCal, so that is definitely the GEG that our lovely Becky is from, and she taught all of us about this translate feature. So shout out to her. Let's see. Yes, Tamina was saying she was thinking about D&D games for the host features. That's awesome. And she also says she hasn't tried out the translation. Yeah, great time. So that's awesome. So you definitely be able to check all of that out. Okay, so I'm also conscientious of time because Techie Tip Tuesday is just 30 minutes. And I do actually have to go to a global GEG Twitter chat for Google EC coaches after this. So we're going to cut it short in about 5 minutes. I just wanted to review a couple other things. Please remember that when you click on Present Now, if you would like to share your screen, that if you share your entire screen, it's going to share everything that is on your laptop screen. So big tip for you to encourage your students to remember that when they sign into Google Classroom for their learning for the day, to please set that as one of your routine reminders, that you remind them to only have open the things that they need that are inside their Google Classroom for their learning activities for the day. That will prevent any safeguarding issues where maybe they have another tab open or a picture open on their screen where they perhaps would not be a good choice to show during the Google Meet. So just make sure that those things are turned off. What we usually recommend, therefore, is, at least for myself also, I always encourage my students to present only a window or only a Chrome tab. So if your students would like to share their work with you, what they're doing, maybe they're working on a Google Doc, maybe they're collaborating together on a Jamboard, in which case you probably are sharing your Jamboard screen in. But it could be that they're working in groups and they'd like to show you their group work as well. So just try to ask them to share their Chrome tab, and it will only share one of the tabs in the Google Meet window, which means that it's going to be much safer for them. If you choose a window also like this, then another window will pop open. It will ask you what you would like to share in. So I'm going to click on this YouTube chat, and now you can see that I'm going to be presenting my screen, and it's actually going to show that I'm presenting. So you won't be able to see that window. However, if I change my view to change layout to spotlight, it might not go right away because I'm streaming and I have multiple windows open, but depending on how you change your layout, you'll be able to see the presentation that you're sharing in. And in any case, if that didn't happen, what you can do is you can always take one of the tabs down and you can pull it out of your Google Meet to allow for split screen. Which brings me beautifully to my next tip, which is Google Chrome extensions. I'm going to click Stop Presenting now. If you would like, before I get to Chrome extensions, before you ask your students what they want to share, make sure you're asking them, would you like to share audio as well? Because the only way the other participants inside the Google Meet will actually hear the audio is if you choose to share a Chrome tab. So if there's a bit of video in there or there's music playing, obviously take care also of copyright and common creatives. But if there's sound that everybody would like the other users to share, please make sure you as the educator and your students are sharing a Chrome tab. All right, now let's talk about our Google Chrome extensions. And this is a perfect example today. In the last couple of days, well, over the last months, as I said, G Suite has been doing a beautiful job of upgrading all of these amazing features for our Google Meet service to better support our learners and our education communities. As a result of that, some of the Chrome extensions that we may have chosen to use during the last distance learning period may not function the way they used to. And on top of not functioning the way they used to, they may actually be causing difficulty with your Google Meet setup. So my recommendation, which I've also been able to support my communities with, is to remove any of the extensions related to Google Meet if you see any issues at all with your Google Meet, like it's not loading, something's not sharing properly. If there's any technical difficulties at all, my first tip to everybody is to ask your G Suite administrator, or if it's left open and teachers have the ability to add their own Chrome extensions, just to go to your Omnibar to the right up here, and you can right click on it and you can remove from Chrome. So if you have the ability to add extensions, I would recommend removing any Google Meet related extensions just until G Suite are finished doing their upgrades, and then you can see what you need. It could possibly be that you don't actually need any of those. So here's a really good example of a Google Meet Chrome extension that is no longer working, which is the grid view. As you can see here, I'm just going to mute that. As you can see here, I don't see the waffle looking icon anymore there. And I know that has also caused some issues in a couple of my other domains as well. And also in some of my domains, this nod feature is also not working either. So in this training domain, it is currently working, but for other of my domains, it is not. So I would recommend strongly that if you encounter any difficulty at all with Google Meet, always start with your Chrome extensions that are related to Google Meet to see if that resolves the issue for you. So that's a little bit of tip on Google Meet from myself. And if you are joining from other GEGs around the world, please feel free to drop your awesome tips for using Google Meet as well to support education learners in the chat. We always love to share and grow with Google together. Shannon has listed the Google EC hashtag. Yes, I'm coming soon, Shannon. Just want to finish up here with GEGMN. Okay, so this is basically covering the Google Meet feature updates for the regular Google for Education, the regular G Suite for Education Google Meet service, okay? Now, as you know, these things are always being updated, but I will let you know that you can go here to this Get More Out of Google Meet, and there was a recent blog published on the 21st of August on what you can do to get the most out of your Google Meet service. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this blog link in the comments for you. I'm going to drop a few links in the comments, guys, and only because as you all know, I always embed all of these awesome Googly treats for you guys in a single Google slide from our Tip Tuesday bit.ly link. But unfortunately, with my Google Drive down, I wasn't able to get to it. So I'm tried to remember all of the links that I had in there to share with you live here. So let's see. Okay, so I've dropped the Google Meet one. Here's also the link for the Anywhere School. And so what I really love about Google for Education is they've been actually, if you weren't able to make the Anywhere School 24-hour awesomeness of Google, then you can still register for the Anywhere School and you can watch it on demand for the next year. Well, for the year from the middle of August. And so I would encourage you all to do that. And when you click on that, you can also click the subscribe button to get the latest news from Google directly into your inbox. So it looks like I'm not subscribed, but I really am in my personal account. This is just my trainer domain. Okay, when you scroll down for the 50 updates that are coming, this was published on the 11th of August, you can see how G Suite is sharing with the whole world how they are making all of their products safer and more engaging, especially starting with Meet. And so you can click on any of these embedded features to take you to the areas, and this is specifically for Meet enhancements. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat also for everybody. And you're able to scroll down and see exactly the type of ways that Google G Suite has helped support control of your meetings. And so you can scroll down to see exactly how you can do that. So you can see, for example, that another feature that's coming out to help students feel more comfortable while they're on video is blurring of the background and also replacing the background with a different setting. So as you can see from my trainer domain, this feature is not currently reached my domain, but it is coming. So I definitely recommend to keep an eye open on these Google blogs, stay in touch with your local GEG, keep in touch with your G Suite administrator at your school to make sure that you're getting the most updates. And just keep in mind also when you hear through the grapevine that some schools are getting different Meet features, please keep it very clear in your mind that there are two different Meet services based on your school's subscription to either G Suite Enterprise for Education or G Suite for Education alone. And so make sure you're very familiar on those two different types to get the most out of your Google Meet service that your school has subscribed to. Please note also that Google Classroom has increased its languages, and so you can read about that more here, and enhancements on assignments as well. By the way, speaking of assignments and originality reports, the G Suite Enterprise for Education service, as I was saying, that it had a lot more features than just recording of Google Meets. It also has unlimited originality reports per Google Classroom. Now, if you're on the regular G Suite Education service, you have been upgraded to 5 originality reports per Google Classroom from the original 3. So that's also nice of Google. I always say that's nice of Google because they're giving us so much free stuff. It's awesome. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to let everybody know is about this tech toolkit for families and guardians. And I know that we're over the hour, so I'm just going to drop this link here for you. This is going to give you access, and please do share this with your parent communities. I know that I shared that with my parent community in the first week just before school started to help them with their induction into the new normal of the new school year. This is called the Tech Toolkit for Families and Guardians. This PDF here is embedded with loads of links that are going to help your school communities to be able to interact with distance learning, hybrid learning, or in-person learning using our wonderful G Suite for Education. Here we have our Google Junior Training Series link as well, which is another one I'm going to drop in the chat for you. This is a series put on by many GEG leaders all around the world over the summer to support families, students, as well as teachers new to G Suite for Education on how they can use all of the G Suite apps for education across the curriculum. So I would strongly recommend for you to share this playlist, and I'm going to get you the share link now, and I'm going to drop that in the chat here. Please, please, please share out this wonderful playlist. There, as you can see from the right-hand side of my screen, there are videos all under about 1.5 minutes or shorter. Really small snippets of free professional learning that is fully visual as well as verbal and helps you and your students and your families learn how to use Google for Education. So definitely take a look at that. Okay, we're really running over time, so I'm going to cut this short, but I am going to share the other links that I had added here. Ready for you. This is one of our Google certified innovator friends and one of my personal friends, Al Thomas, from the Adobe Creative Educator team as well, who's put on this short 20-minute video on 10 hacks or 10 tips that you can use to improve your distance learning videos. And I'm going to drop this link for you in the chat. And if you you'll be able to learn things about like lighting and placement and being aware of your background, different things. And the one that I paused it on to show you was never start with work. So please, 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 in this really difficult time for educators, for students, and for parents alike, and for senior leaders, please take the time in everything you do, not just in your distance learning online lessons, but when you're communicating with your colleagues, when you have to send an email or make a phone call to a parent of one of your students, when you have to do anything, please be empathetic, be sympathetic, please show humility, and please show kindness, because everybody is really struggling right now. So always start with the human, as Al says in his video, and make sure that you connect with your students and build those positive relationships, because without students and teachers and families being happy, then the learning is just not going to happen at all. So please definitely take a look, if you do have time, at that short video. I'm now going to drop oh, Shannon says she loves the Google Junior training series. Yes, Shannon, that's awesome. And Tamina says she's seen it as well. Cool. Okay. The next few links I am just going to drop for you, but that was not the link that I was looking for, or is it? Possibly. Yes, there we go. Okay. This is Chromebooks are going to get built-in screen recording. And I actually found this shout out to my Google certified trainer and innovator friend, Rachel Kothup from GEG UK and Global GEG, who shared this one out. So if your school is using Chromebook devices as one-to-one or just devices at all, soon to be released is going to be a screen recorder specifically for Chromebooks. So instead of having to worry about adding that extension, is actually coming directly into it. So make sure that you check out that article for details on that release. Okay, we don't have time to get into these other little goodies, but I'm going to drop the links for you in case you would like to look into them before our next Tip Tuesday. And then in the next Tip Tuesday, I'm going to dive into these. This one is a new release from Pear Deck called A Simple Way to Build a Class Framework. If you click on this Pear Deck link, you can actually click on Google Slides here at the bottom left, and it will actually give you a copy of this amazing Building a Classwork framework. And so Pear Deck have created these amazing templates to help you create engaging virtual distance learning lessons. And there's nothing stopping you from doing this as a screencast as well. Obviously, if your students are joining asynchronously, you may not have the live part ready to go, but you can set it as a self-paced lesson as well. So I've shared that link in the YouTube chat, and you're welcome to take a look, and I'll dive into this at the next Techie Tip Tuesday. The other two links before I say goodbye for the evening, this one is here from our friends at J. Matt Miller and Carly from Ditch That Textbook. And you may have seen that I've shared something like this before here, basically with 75 back-to-school activities for remote learning classrooms. You will be able to find, if you scroll through these, a lot of amazing ideas from Matt Miller and others, free courses on equity, how to create Bitmoji virtual classrooms with links on different people who have some really super awesome top tips to help you create engaging lessons for your virtual classrooms. So take a look through that. Great way on gamifying your syllabus, creating a backup plan with choice boards, super exciting. So loads of goodies in there from our friends at Ditch That Textbook. So shout out to Matt Miller. And the last one is becoming an Adobe Creative Educator. And so if you're interested in finding out how you can inspire your students with creativity across your classroom and across your school education, K-12, or even higher ed, then take a look at how you can become a creative educator. It's a really short course that takes you through it's like an hour course, as you can see there. It allows you to create something that you can then take away and use in your classroom. But most importantly, it helps you inspire your students on how they can create, and you can support them to amplify their voices across the class and across the school. So take a look there. There's classroom resources, live events, and more community members you can participate with as well. Okay, I jam-packed a lot. I'm 15 minutes over after saying that I was only going to be 30 minutes. So for those of you who hung out with us for the entire time, Thank you very much for hanging out with us over GEG Aman's first episode of our second season of Tip Tuesday called Techie Tip Tuesday. And we will be back next Tuesday at the same time at 6 p.m. GMT +3 for Tip Tuesday together. So we'll be meeting with somebody from the community to help support with ways of how they are balancing life in the new normal, which is perfect timing since we're all going to be in distance learning here in Jordan as of Thursday. And so we look forward to sharing with you and celebrating and, of course, helping you with as many strategies as possible to help support families at home. So please do tune in for that next Tuesday at 6 p.m. And then the following Tuesday after that will be Techie Tip Tuesday again. And I'm actually going to walk through Pear Deck in further detail using that template so that teachers can see how amazing the engagement of their distance learning classes can be using the Google Slide add-on called Pear Deck, which is partnered with Google for Education. All right, so that takes us to the end. I'm just going to check in the chat if there's questions. Francis, you are welcome. Francis, I don't remember seeing where you're joining us from, but I'm going to say that it's possibly in North America since you knew about GEG SoCal. So if you are joining from North America, thank you so much. And to Shannon, and Tamina, definitely always a pleasure to see you, and thank you for joining. To all of our viewers who will be watching this episode after the fact, thank you always for tuning in and sharing and celebrating with GEG Aman all the way from Jordan in the Middle East. And I'd like to take this opportunity personally to thank every single educator that is out there on the front line right now, whether that be in the classroom in person, whether it's by distance learning, even by hybrid learning, whatever the situation is, I want to say thank you because right now is not an easy time. People are stressed, people feel anxious, there's a lot of concern for health, there's a lot of concern for students, there's just a lot of concern for many things. And so most important of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing on the front line, and thank you for taking time in this crazy, busy, stressful time to join us at GEG Aman to share with us and to learn how you can even continue to make it a better experience for your students. So we appreciate you, and I appreciate everything you're doing to support your students and your education communities in Jordan, in the region, and globally as well. So thank you very much. Please take good care of yourselves. Well-being and health and safety is always first for all of our members and non-members of GEG Aman. And please, please, please take care of yourself. So thank you very much to everybody who joined. And we look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday. Have a wonderful and safe evening. And thanks again. Take care, guys.